Hi, this is Mark Demler with Safe Security, representing the Safe at Home product, and we're going to talk today about how to install your wireless glass break detector. First thing we want to do is take the components out of the box as they came, just to make sure everything's there to get the job done. So you'll find first you have a set of mounting anchors wrapped in plastic for attaching this to sheetrock or plaster walls, as well as the screws, which can either fit into the mounting anchors or use for wooden wall surfaces. Then you'll have the detector. It's wrapped in plastic. Everything's okay there. Discard the plastic. And then you'll also find the original manufacturer's instructions in there. They have mounting diagrams, do's and don'ts, some of which we'll review in here today, and we'll kind of cut to the critical issues you need to know to get the job done. But I do recommend that you spend some time with the manufacturer's instructions just to be safe. Okay. Before we get into actually mounting the device, let's make sure we understand how these devices work, because they're more sophisticated than your average alarm sensor, and they're very, very sensitive to how they're mounted and how they're used. So we need to understand a few things to make sure we get the performance out of these glass break detectors that we want, and we avoid any false alarm problems. These are acoustic detectors. They're actually listening into the room, and they're listening 24 hours a day to everything that occurs in your house for the sensitive range of the frequencies of breaking glass. Within that, they are best performers if you actually follow a few general rules. First of which, they're line of sight. By that I mean if you're going to stand in front of the window you wish to protect, anywhere you see in the room is a potential mounting location. But don't put them down the hall, don't put them in the next room and expect them to detect the glass break. Don't put them behind a bar or a partition or a half wall and expect them to perform properly, because all those surface changes will cause the sounds of the glass break to deflect and appear differently, and the detector may not pick them up. So make sure that the detector has clear line of sight from the location you choose. So obvious choices would be the opposite wall. That's your safest bet, because that actually sees all of the glass. Any side wall, that'll work too, as long as there's no partitions or any of the surfaces in the way. We recommend you don't use the same wall as the window. Not the best catch detection, more reliable if you avoid that surface. Ceiling mounting is okay too. We'll talk about some of the requirements there. One of the problems you run into is if you have heavy lined curtains. That tends to dampen the sound of the breaking glass, so you tend to want to get the detector behind those curtains, and that's where we will violate that mounting on the same wall rule that I just mentioned. If you do have heavy lined curtains and they're likely to be closed, then mount the detector on the side frame right next to the glass, so it's literally looking across the glass, and you'll be fine. I'm not worried about sheer curtains. We're not worried about lace curtains. They're not thick enough to cause this problem. So let's drill this down a little deeper. We're looking at a kind of a floor plan, looking down at your house now. We want to make sure that the sensor actually is looking within the correct range. We really don't want to get any further away than 25 feet. If you're looking at the window here in this plan view, you'll notice you've got opposite wall locations, which are really good. You have side wall locations, which are recommended, but none of them more than 25 feet away from the farthest point of glass, almost as if you're pulling a string between the sensor and the farthest point. Anything less than that's just fine. Again, not recommended to go on the same wall, but can be if you have heavy curtains. As well, if you're mounting on the wall, make sure it is at least 6 feet above the floor. We don't want to be down low enough where we're going to have problems with furniture and things like that that's going to acoustically dampen the sound of the breaking glass. Now, conversely, if you choose to mount on the ceiling, and that's the best place to mount in your location, we actually, once again, know that we have to be, as we say, 25 feet away to the farthest point from the breaking glass. And we shouldn't be any closer than about 8 feet. We don't want to get the sound echoing around in the corner of the room up here and getting a chance to distort so the glass break doesn't recognize the sound of breaking glass. And then be out about 8 feet just to be safe. But by the same token, no more than 25, and the sensor will work just fine. If you are mounting on the ceiling, there's one other option, one other requirement that we make. If you look at the detector itself, the microphone is biased towards one end of the case, so it's actually pointing off in that direction. If you're going to mount the unit on the ceiling, point it in the direction where the microphone's actually looking at the glass. If your window's over here, you want to orient it in this direction. If you're mounting it the other way, the microphone's looking away from the glass, and you have a lower chance of catching the burglar as you'd like. Also, you'd like the detector to be mounted at least 3 feet away from any noise sources. Telephones, washers that are going to be running when you're gone, noisy air conditioning vents, wall air conditioning units. Any of those things emit enough noise that they can tend to mask the sound, especially if small window breaks. So you want to make sure that you avoid those. The unit, the way we design these is they're designed to work with your Lynx security system in the away mode, not in the home mode. This keeps us away from false alarm problems. While you're occupying the building, no matter how sophisticated these are, there's sounds that can occur in your normal environment that can actually sweep through the frequencies of breaking glass. Good television sound system, good computer audio, all can actually trip these types of devices. The slamming of metal doors and file cabinets can do the same thing. And one of the favorites is silverware in a stainless steel sink. So if you're washing dishes with a sink, you have a stainless steel, you have a very high probability of causing false alarms while you're home. So the systems are shipped so that these will only be armed when the system is armed in the away mode and there's nobody in the house. Let's talk about how we mount these. First thing you have to do is open the detector up. It takes a screwdriver, a standard bladed screwdriver, in a slot at the very end, away from the hinges, and just twist it carefully because you don't want to deform the plastic in any way. You open the unit up, you see it comes pre-packaged with the 2 batteries. There's also a plastic card, cardboard note that keeps the batteries from powering the unit up. So right now it comes powered down. You'll see the microphone is in here as well as the indicator LEDs for operation. What you're looking for though are the mounting holes. You can see these 2 slots right here. Okay? And the screws and the mounting anchors that come with it are designed actually to fit the sensor right through these holes. The first thing you'll do is use the sensor itself as a template. Once you've chosen your mounting location, mark through with a pencil or an object to mark the wall, and insert the plastic anchors into the wall. You may have to simply notch out a small hole with a screwdriver, insert the plastic anchors, and then run the screws themselves through to the device into the plastic anchors. Again, if you've got a wooden wall or a paneling wall, or you're able to mount right through the sheetrock to a stud, you won't use the green plastic anchors. You'll screw right into the wall surface. When you're finished, simply pull the cardboard insulating strip out, and now your batteries have made contact. You can see your lights come on and the unit's powering up, going through its diagnostic mode. Close the cover, make sure you run it closed. There's actually a tab here and then electronic tamper switch. The unit requires that the cover be closed at all times when in operation, and essentially you have completed the installation of your glass break detector. One other piece I will show you, a tip, inside the device there's a small, I'll call your attention to a small set of sensitivity switches in there. There's a pair of dip switches right here, slide switches 1 and 2. And they allow you to adjust the sensitivity of the sensor down if you have a smaller room and there's a lot of noise echoing around. Maybe you've got dogs or you have a parrot, birds that make a lot of noise and chatter while you're gone. You may want to spend a moment with the manufacturer's instructions, and you'll see it's also here discussing how to adjust the sensitivity. These units come set up with high sensitivity, so they're pretty hot the way they'll come out of the box. You may find with dogs, parrots, canaries, things that make that type of screeching noise, jangling chains on a dog, you may want to adjust it down to the medium setting by changing the position of those dip switches. It prevents any further false alarms from occurring. Other than that, the replacement of the batteries, there's no user serviceable parts inside the unit. The red LED will indicate when it's been tripped. Beyond that, the system is self-restoring once there's been an activation. Just silence the unit at the panel, and that's all there is to your glass break sensor. Thank you.